Hi friends, welcome to my presentation. Let me introduce myself. I am TSWREIS from Mulugu. Before going into the topic directly, let us discuss a few points. You all are well familiar with the two world wars. During the Second World War, at least 20 million people died. Just such a terrible death. From starvation, malnutrition and its associated disease. Starvation and conflict went hand in hand. Death by starvation became slow and undramatic. Food became scarce and expensive. Food is an important source for every living being. Everyone started thinking, what is the solution for this problem? Hence, many scientists sit together to find a solution for this problem. Hence, they came up with a marvelous idea, that is introducing of Green Revolution. Let us have a glance on the screen, please. Here the picture shows the result of the world wars. Many people have died and some are searching for the food grains and the soil do not have proper nutrients and some are going for the wars. Let us have a objectives. Let us go for the main objectives. At the end of my session, you will be familiar with Green Revolution and Green Revolution and its history, advantages and disadvantages, difference between Green Revolution and Green Revolution. As you can see on the screen, these are the objectives of today's lesson. Today my topic is Green Revolution and Green Revolution. As you can see on the screen, M.S. Swaminathan. M.S. Swaminathan from India led the Green Revolution as the project. Beside of him, Norman Borlaug. The beginning of the Green Revolution was often attributed by Norman Borlaug. He is an American scientist. He interested more in agriculture. He conducted a research in Mexico and developed a new resistance to the wheat plants. Because of his success, its technology spread worldwide in 1950s and 1960s. He introduced high-yielding varieties to increase the agricultural production. After 1978, increased use of fertilizers leads to increase in agricultural production. As you can see, M.S. Swaminathan. M.S. Swaminathan is regarded as the father of Green Revolution in India. Beside of him, Srimati Indira Gandhi. In 1965, the government of Srimati Indira Gandhi decided to take a major step on agricultural condition. At this stage, the Green Revolution was concerned only with wheat and rice plants, basically in parts of Punjab and Haryana. Let us go for the main objective. Today, our main objective is Green Revolution. Several countries, including India, experienced substantial and dramatic increase in agricultural production. Green Revolution is also known as seed, water, fertilizer, pesticide technology. Green Revolution is the development of the agricultural field as a result of intensive plant breeding programs. The application of traditional breeding methods resulted in the Green Revolution. Also in 1960s, International Rice Research Institute IRRI, which was founded in Philippines with financial backing from Rockefeller and Ford Foundations. They collected rice varieties from all over the world, making a seed bank. They released a cross rice variety called Miracle Rice, which was a combination of two rice varieties, Peyton and D. Geo Wogan, which shows several desirable characters. Let us go for the factors responsible for the Green Revolution. Adoption of high-yielding varieties, use of machinery, multiple cropping program and seeds with superior genetics. Let us have a brief discussion on multiple cropping program. Multiple cropping is a practice of growing two or more crops in the same field of land in the same growing season instead of one crop. And seeds with superior genetics. It is a scientific aspect of the Green Revolution to use high-yielding varieties to increase the agricultural productivity. Let us go for the methods. Hybridized seeds, synthetic fertilizers, insecticides and pesticides, and These are the factors which are responsible in the Green Revolution. M.S. Swaminathan is regarded as the father of Green Revolution. Let us see what are the methods employed by him in Green Revolution. These are the examples of wheat and rice plants. These are the factors which are responsible for the Green Revolution. Let us go for the methods. He employed WAF method, Kharif method, agricultural sustainability, ecological footprints, transforming the Green Revolution into an evergreen revolution. Let us have a brief discussion on WAF method. WAFing is a process in which a breed of animal or cultivator of plant can be changed to become significantly smaller than the standard member of their species. This effect can be induced through human intervention, non-human process, which also includes genetics, nutritional or hormonal process. Especially, dwarfing includes pathogenic changes in the structure of an organism. The best example for dwarfing method is bulldog, which is resistant to non-pathogenic changes. Contractor reduction to high-yielding varieties. Up to here it is well and good, alright. I am getting a question in my mind that is there any disadvantages and advantages of Green Revolution? First, let us go for the advantages of Green Revolution. We can increase the yield 3 times. We also make India self-sufficient of food grains. Coming to the disadvantages, rural unemployment, change in cropping pattern, scientific cultivation and development of industries. To have a clear information on the topic, let us go for the mind map. First, we learned about the definition and methods and factors responsible for the Green Revolution and methods of M.S. Swaminathan and also the advantages and disadvantages of Green Revolution. Till now, we have seen the Green Revolution. But for the increasing population, the food is not sufficient to feed them. Hence, many scientists sit together and introduced the second Green Revolution. Now it's time to discuss about it. India has tremendous export potential in present era of globalization. This emphasis would be laid on improving global market opportunities, improving rural infrastructure and improving the irrigational facilities. Till now, we have seen the Green Revolution which was happened in India. Let us see how the Green Revolution was happened in other countries. Mexico. Mexico is called the birthplace and burial ground of the Green Revolution. During the 20th century, 2 revolutions transformed the rural Mexico. They are Mexican Revolution and Green Revolution. Mexican President Manuel Avila Comaco and support of the US government and United Nations, they developed a food and agricultural organization to increase their productivity. Mexico became showcase for extending Green Revolution in parts of Latin America beyond Africa and Asia. Mexican government created Mexican agricultural program to increase their agricultural productivity. Mexico is good in wheat production. As we compare to the years, in 1951, the production of wheat was only 70%. Coming to the 1961, the production was increased by 10%, which is 80%. But coming to the 1968, they increased their yield by 10%, now it is 90%. So, the Green Revolution is good in wheat production. Let us go for the Brazil. Brazil is an vast corroded region which is regarded as unfit for farming because too much of acidity and reduced minerals. They poured vast quantities of lime to reduce the acidity. After 1960s, they started cultivating the crops by using the chemical fertilizers to increase their agricultural productivity. Let us go for the phases of Green Revolution. The Green Revolution has 4 phases. Phase 1 during the early 1960s when the miracle rice was spread. Phase 2 during the early 1970s when the small marginal farmers got positive results of Green Revolution. Phase 3 during the late 1970s when the small marginal farmers began adopting high-yielding varieties. Phase 4 during the 1980s and 1990s where it was realized use of traditional breeding methods on which Green Revolution was based on is nearing its ceiling for improving the agricultural production, and the production could not improve even though the use of artificial fertilizers and pesticides. Some high-level technologies like tissue culture, embryo transfer also failed. After 1990s, another revolution was started. With the advent of biotechnology, use of genetically modified crops is a new way to increase agricultural production in order to reduce the use of chemical fertilizers. It leads to another type of revolution. It also starts with G, which has similar meaning which differ in their application. That is gene revolution. As you can see on the screen, definition of the Green Revolution. Let us go for the genetically modified crops. Here we discussed genetically modified crops. Plants, fungi, bacteria and animals whose genes have been altered by manipulation. Manipulation is nothing but doing something with hands. Let us go for the applications of genetically modified crops. Plants made tolerable to abiotic stresses. Abiotic stresses includes cold, drought, hot, etc. and reduce the use of chemical fertilizers. GM, that means genetically modified crops, is a technology which involves inserting DNA into the genome of a plant to produce a new genetically modified plant. New DNA is transferred into plant cells. Usually, these cells are grown in the tissue culture where they develop into plants. The seeds produced by these plants will inherit the new DNA. As you can see on the screen, that are the nitrogen base pairs which are present in the DNA, and that is a chromosome. It is X-shaped in which the gene is present. We can transfer the gene to another to produce a new genetically modified plant. Up to here it is well and good. Let us go for the transgenic plants. Plants with desirable characters created through gene transformed method. Several transgenic plants are produced to meet the specific needs of agriculture and human life. Let us go for the applications of transgenic plants. Transgenic plants having resistance to pests and pathogen. The best example for this transgenic papaya which is resistant to papaya ring spot virus. As you can see on the screen, transgenic papaya which is resistant to papaya ring spot virus. Beet cotton which is resistant to insects. This is the beet cotton which is resistant to insects. Transgenic plants having nutritional food value. Transgenic golden rice obtained from type A rich in vitamin A prevents blindness. As you can see on the screen, golden rice. This is the example of nutritional food value. Transgenic plants are suitable for food processing technology. The best example for this, flavor saver tomato. As you can see on the screen, flavor saver tomato. This is the example of transgenic plants. And also you can see some pictures which are transgenic plants. Beet brinjal. Let us go for the biosafety and ethical issues of genetically modified crops. There is a fear of transferring allergens or toxins to humans and animals as side effects. There is a risk of changing the fundamental nature of vegetables. They may pose a harmful effects on biodiversity and have an adverse impact on environment. They may change the natural evolutionary pattern. Up to here it is well and good. Let us go through the advantages and disadvantages of gene revolution. First we will discuss about advantages of gene revolution. We provide disease-free plants to the farmers less use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, increased exports and rising farming incomes. Some studies suggest yield increases significantly. Let us go for the disadvantages. The seeds last only for one growing season, always do not have improved nutritional quality of food. Farmers depend only on buying seeds and fertilizers from MNDs. My observation on the topic. Green Revolution and Green Revolution are two waves of development in agriculture field during the past 4 decades. Green Revolution was spread by the production of new wheat from Mexico and rice from Philippines, while the Green Revolution spread by the production of first transgenic plant, herbicide resistant in the USA. Up to here it is well and good, alright. If someone asks a question to you, what is the difference between Green Revolution and Green Revolution? We show our blank faces. To avoid it, let us go through it. Green Revolution, the result of intensive plant breeding programs which reliable on traditional breeding methods. Let us go for the Green Revolution, the result of microbiological crops on which macrobiological techniques can be applied. Up to here it is well and good, alright. Coming to the factors. Up till now we have discussed about the Green Revolution. So, my observation, I told you my observation. Let us go for the conclusion. Green Revolution replaced one way of agriculture. Green Revolution led by the multinational corporations which they keep them in the markets. But the Green Revolution led by the Public Research Institute which simply disseminated throughout the world. Let me go for the evaluation part. Let me ask you some questions to have a feedback from you all. Let us go for the transgenic. What are transgenic plants? Give an example. Plants with desirable characters created through gene transformed method. Example, beet cotton which is resistant to insects. Can you give me the permission to ask another question? What is miracle rice? Which was a combination of two rice varieties. They are Peyton and Wugan. Let me ask you another question. Mention any two disadvantages of Green Revolution. Disadvantages of Green Revolution. Rural unemployment, change in cropping pattern. What are the applications of genetically modified crops? Genetically modified crops applications are plants made tolerable to abiotic stresses, reduce the use of chemical fertilizers. Let me ask you the final question. Who is the father of Green Revolution at international level? Norman Borlaug is the father of Green Revolution at international level. Till now we have discussed Green Revolution and Green Revolution. Green Revolution is the upcoming technological development in the agricultural field. It is based on biotechnology where microbiological techniques can be applied. After 1990s, with the failure of Green Revolution, the Green Revolution was started. The key components of Green Revolution includes genomics for the mapping of genomes, bioinformatics for an assembly of genomic data in an accessible way, molecular breeding to identify the pathogens in a molecular level, and viruses to identify the pathogens. My special thanks goes to TSAT Network, Telangana Government and TSWREIS Society for giving this golden opportunity. Thank you.
Raga, ela não mostrou. అది అసలు ఆడ ఉంది
ఆడలేదా అక్కడికి వచ్చింది ఆల్రెడీ
వచ్చింది టైంకి చేయాలా అన్నారా